And what's going up, guys? It's your hostess with the mostest, Anomalycyra, coming back at it for another mind theory for your mind. Now, today we're going to talk about quantum decoherence because, of course, we are. Our last episode was about the quantum coherence, so today I want to talk to you about the loss of information from the system. Let me tell you just a basic idea of this. And then I'll give you some definitely examples in my own point of view. So loss of information from a system into the environment. Every system is loosely coupled with the energetic state of its surroundings. This happens when different proportions of the system's wave functions become enlarged in different ways, and I think that means time. So let me add this in. So the loss of information. The example that I saw online was a very hot bath losing heat. But I think I want to look at it more like if you look at the world around us now, we're dealing with a large loss of information at a very personal level. If you really want to look at it, I saw this beautiful poem talking about how you used to love everything that you made with your hands. And when I heard that, it really touched me because I'm an artist. I create, I paint, I write, I sing, I do all of that. But as I've become, later on into my 20s or whatever, I developed a type of personality where perfectionism started coming in and plaguing me, or maybe it was, the traumatic childhood or something peeking in saying, this art isn't good enough, You'll never be Van Gogh or Picasso. And if you had met Van Gogh or Picasso back then, you probably wouldn't have thought that they were going to be Van Gogh or Picasso. You would have thought they seemed a little stressed and maybe they need to chill out. And they also created their own look. Well, not to get off into a ramble about art, but I really love art. And those of you who are listening probably do too, because, the collective souls. So if you're here, you probably like thinking and talking about the same things that I do. And this is a nice little place where we can come and talk and join and have thought. And maybe in this way, it's a one-way conversation. But I wholeheartedly believe that, in a way, you're communicating back as well what you feel and when you would want to, of course. So loss of information, I would say, is like losing your childhood too soon, or if you've been told that you're mature for your age or something like this. Or like me, I had very strong personality parents, so it really wasn't a big issue for me to develop my own personality and character. I was able to see that, I could be funny and have a sense of humor, or I would be beautiful, or from time to time, not a lot, but from time to time, I would think I was actually charming. I could make myself laugh, which was something I still love about myself. On my Saturdays, it comes in handy. Because, like all humans, I have sadness and I feel pain, but it's not one of the things that stays in my focus. So that's why I want to talk, the quantum decoherence of it is that I lost the information somewhere along the way of not doing that. I remember being a child, my grandmother had this huge house. My grandma's the one who's half German. And Japanese Tahitian. I don't want to count them out either. But she had this huge house. No one was really around. So when I say I was alone a lot as a kid, I'm sure there was a parental somewhere. My parents worked a lot. They had houses and cars and things to pay for. God, at 24, it blows my mind. This is a different world now. Loss of information again. I see this everywhere. Or maybe because I'm studying it so hard, I'd see it. If I say, look for a red car, you see a red car. So maybe it's something like that, but it just seems like there's such a loss, and not in a nostalgic way. I've been seeing a lot of videos about nostalgia from the 90s or something. And if you lived in the 90s, you didn't feel nostalgic about it, but maybe you did about the 50s or something like this. I watched the Brady Bunch, or I was like, raised around like old people. So like my grandparents raised me, if anything. So I was watching shows from like the 30s, like I Love Lucy, you know? So there's like information and emotions and feelings that are like lost from this time frame in a beautiful way and sometimes a sad way. But in that way, I wanted to start coming back to some of this information that's gone, and not in a way to retrieve it, because once the water is spilled, it's spilled. It's absorbed and, you know, flushes out and is somewhere else. But back to the poem I heard of where you used to love things that your hands made. And it's like, if you would make a stick person or, you know, a little Play-Doh. Like, even when I think of Play-Doh, I can smell the smell of it. Maybe you're one of those weird kids that put the tip of your tongue on it and you could taste it and it's really like salty, you know, and you'd play with it. I don't eat it. I never did that, but I did. I did put the tip of my tongue on it. I will admit it. I did. There were so many colors. I don't know. I've always been a curious kid. And I found out, and it's just salty. It was weird. We used to make our own too. You know, you just use flour, salt, and water. And my sister used to do that all the time. Like for me, family was like really important, but I had to go off on this journey to really find myself. And after so many things had happened, there was a real decoherence in between me and my loved ones. Friends, family, relatives. It was just in a way that they didn't know the same information that I knew. And not in a negative way. These are all very beautiful things, you know. If I ask the sunflower why it isn't a rose, you know, it just seems like corrupting a thing that's already beautiful. So when I say quantum decoherence, I don't say it in a way where I think it's negative or quantum coherence is way better because, you know, we like our quasi-classical descriptions to stay the same and, you know, we want our physical systems to be the same. And, oh, speaking of this, I've been looking into some extra things. Like, this is what my company does. We do intellectual speculation and critical thinking, if you hadn't noticed, about philosophical ideas. So I've always been a philosophical person. It's what saved my life. And a lot of those times where I would lose the information from my own physical system of why I loved myself or why I wanted to be alive or what was there so amazing if no one loved me or knew I existed. And if you're listening to this, and maybe you have that thought somewhere in the back of your mind, I just want to let you know, you are a legacy. It took hundreds of thousands of people coming together at the right time, perfectly so, to make you. And I don't want to forget that. I don't want us to forget that. So when I talk about ancestors in the past and history, that's what I mean. The beauty of these human beings that lived in a world that in a way was less and then in a way was more than our own now. And I feel years to come, millennia to come, maybe 1,000 years from now, when none of us exist and our ideas are moot, I would say that these things keep happening. There will always be a loss of information. It's how the system renews, because these are cycles. Life, humans, existence, reality, non-existence, they are all cycles and circles within each other, the golden spiral. Now, this actually reminds me of this really interesting movie that when I had roommates back in New York and Long Island, one of my Russian roommates was insane. And I mean, well, it was like Russian and Estonian. So he had all these different ideas about this kind of stuff, which I loved, which is, you know, that's great to have a roommate like that. But he introduced me to this movie called Pi. Now, it's not a cherry pie, it's pi, like 3.14 type thing. It's a math equation. But this genius, he started losing his mind and seeing the golden spiral everywhere in the investing market, in real estate, in people, in genes. If you look at a flower, it's like geometry and things, and you start looking at swirls on your hand and how they're unique to you, and you can get lost in this information, or it can start swirling you around like you took some DMT or something. I just see meditation videos and it looks pretty trippy. Other than that, I have no idea, but I get what people like Joe Rogan was talking about it, this kind of thing. I don't know, but it seems like they're seeing colors and talking to people and this kind of stuff, which is absolutely terrifying in my mind, but I am not here to judge. But if it brought them to somewhere more peaceful and a way of deeper understanding to themselves, then I think it's a beautiful thing. So I was looking into something else too that I thought was kind of fun. So quantum biology, which we're definitely going to have to pick up another episode for this because I want to stay on the quantum decoherence, but I just want to touch on it a little bit. So biological objects, they deal in a conversion of energy into forms that are usable for chemical transformation and are quantum mechanical in nature. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I gotta definitely wrap my filter brain around it. The Dr.anomalycyra is in. Now, and I wanted to have some ideas about what does that mean. So the process involved the conversion of energy. And the more I think about it, it's like this. When I am a vegan, I've been a vegan for, most of my life. Now, when I have to take vitamins, because, where do you get your protein, bro? Protein, bro. Love protein, protein, bro. Okay, protein, bro. But I have to have all of the other, and I'm a woman, so also I add in iron. So I have my A vitamin, my B vitamin, my extra E vitamins, all of this stuff. What I have realized in my research of them, because I research everything, because this is just kind of how my mind works. I want to know what it is. I want to know how it works. I want to know what it does. And I keep seeing like there are certain forms of all of these vitamins. So it's not just vitamin B6. Vitamin B6 has like 5 different components that you can take, and one of them is more bioavailable to your body, which means it'll go through your blood system and can get into your brain. Some things are too big, or their molecule size will be too big, so it can't go through your blood system the same way, which means it won't be as available for your brain, your body to use. Something like this. Look at it that way. It's like the good gasoline for the car. Not that I drive. Like Ricky Gervais, I do not drive. It's not interesting to me. It doesn't excite me. I take a cab where I have to go, or, my friends drive. Everyone drives. Why do I need to drive? One less person on the road that doesn't want to be there. I pay to go where I gotta go, and then I come home, And then again, if you're just like a homebody, but I do have this little fantasy of like driving and just going for drives sometimes late at night while it's like cool out, put on a little jazz and just look at the clouds go by, But that's not someone in a car driving. That's someone in the passenger seat with someone driving. So these lovely fantasies don't involve what I would actually be doing. I'd be stressed and paying attention to the road. So this is what I'm talking about. So the loss of that information within the fantasy, this happens constantly, all the time. It happens so much that I would think that we don't even pay attention to it anymore. Now, what I wanted to say of how it reminds me of time really is, time is an illusion. It's a construct. It's a measuring tool. So it can be big or small. You got a little bit of time, it's 5 minutes. You got a lot of time, that could be a year, an hour, 30 minutes, 20 years. This concept. Which is why I really love outer space and being up here, because the time dilation is insane. I can go to this planet and it's been 7 years. I can go over there. It's only been a month. Back on Earth, maybe you're all dead and no one's hearing this. Oh, God. Well, and then that too. So sometimes in the mail, I get these in space mail. So sometimes I'll leave this construct. Like, so what? Who's going to sue me? This is my show. So sometimes in the mail, I get these life insurances, which they either make me angry or they're trying to tell me something. I'm not dying anytime soon. I'm going to live forever and fuck you. I'm going to freeze to death on a mountain and I won't need a burial. Or I'll do like the Japanese style and, make myself some kind of coral reef or fireworks or something exciting. I don't want to be boring. I don't want a boring death. I want people to sing and praise and think about how good my life was and if I made them happy or the things I brought and, and lay flowers and stuff before they light my body on fire or something. I saw that in the movie and I thought it was kind of beautiful. It was just her family. Like she had 3 sons and a husband. Maybe you've seen this movie. And the husband was getting then like a daughter or something. And the husband had them doing homesteading, growing your own vegetables, learning how to fish, learning how to, make a roof, how to seal holes, how to, really, really live. Like the thing we would not know how to do if one of those sun flares hit us and all the electricity goes out. Which kind of scares me because I was like, I know I told you guys a few episodes ago, but I bought this rose bush and I've still been trying to, like I said, this is my show. I can leave the concept whenever I want. But I've been trying to grow this rose bush. I've reached a point where it's not growing and I'm watering a dead plant. And then that's another saying. Are you watering a dead plant? Have you lost the information that would make this a growing, thriving thing? Sometimes that happens. And I've had to allow myself something really sad where I have to let something die. And I've never had to, or I guess I have had to deal with that, but that's the loss of information. I feel like I've never had to do that before, even though I've had to do it repeatedly. And this is why I wanted to bring it up, and I wanted to have an episode about this. So it's like, if you're experiencing something that feels off or uncomfortable, there's a loss of information. There's a decoherence. But I want you to know that every system reacts this way. You are an energetic system reacting to your surroundings. That's it. This information that's no longer there is reacting to the physical system. Now, for those of us who are, maybe you blinked out for a minute or you started making coffee or something. So what are we talking about? You, us. We are all one. And I know. Everyone's like, oh, we're all one, like that Carl Sagan thing. Well, no, because then he went somewhere else with it. I just mean you are an energy body. I am an energy body. That's how we're here. When that energy body changes and loses information, you can call that sickness, sadness, trauma. That's what these things are. So when I talk about that I had trauma, there were loss of certain informations. My parents worked all the time, so I didn't get the same kind of, affection maybe you got listening to this. But I had a grandmother I watched TV with all the time. One of my favorite memories that make me really happy, just like in a random moment or whatever, was like flying kites with my dad. It was like a strange thing or whatever, but I'm from the Midwest, it's really windy there, like up by Canada. So it's like we had flat plains everywhere. The wind could lift you if you didn't hold on to something sometimes. So flying your kite there would be probably the most amazing experience you ever had. And now, though, me as an adult, if I go there, one day I get married, I have children, I do the thing everyone's supposed to do, the show. Like, if I took my children there to fly kites, would it be the same for them? No. The loss of information is the experience in the energy body and time. And that's why I decided it was time. That's the thing of information. It's how it's filtered through you. It's filtered through you, through your experiences, your mind, your way of behavior, structure, character, all of those beautiful, amazing things that make you you. Which is why I feel like I'm in a particular situation, because I've traveled, I've gone more than simply educating myself in a book's form. I've lived. If I wanted to know about a place, I decided to live there. If I didn't understand a people or a way, I made myself a part of it. I became entrenched in information and knowledge. It's practically the study of knowledge, if you really want to just look at it that way, which is beautiful in itself, but it's speculative because I want to have a different point of view than the one that I see there, which is beautiful, made by amazing people who have, studied probably more than I have way more degrees than probably I do, and wrote all these books about it. But I'm putting it through my filter and my way of seeing the world. And this is my show and it's my company. And I want to do critical thinking and intelligent speculation where we speak about all of the ways that a thing may mean and not just one way that it could be portrayed as. Like if you put this into a Google search, it'll give you the layout of mostly what it means. But that's not all that it means now, is it? And I want you to really sit there with a lot of the things that you get confused about or you want to know about. And that's what, I want to, if anything, I would love to promote you to ask yourself a question and then go research it and find out more about yourself. I wanted to know, why did I have this type of emotion about human existence? Is it a God thing? Is it a spiritual thing? Being Catholic for such a long time. I'm not now. I don't know if I'd be considered Christian either. It's just kind of all, but I love God. I love Jesus, the book, but the people I want nothing to do with. And we can kind of make that for what that is. I don't know. But if anything, I still think it's amazing if you believe in something. Spaghetti monster in the sky. The scariest thing I ever met was probably an atheist, and it was because it was just sad. So you just think that there's no purpose to you. You're just a mistake or a fluke of this larger system of Earth that peoples. As Alan Watts said, an apple grows apples, Earth grows people. And I think in that way it's beautiful. I also don't think of God the same way that everyone thinks of God, like a magical genie or like a best friend cousin or something. I don't think it's the same thing. My way of seeing it, I think, would be sadder, because if you think of God as just an energy of creation, that means you can't ask anything, right? Or if you're going to be a part of something, you have to do manifesting, and really you're doing it on your own. That's what free will is, which takes me back to the Greek mythology, of where a lot of the times their incidences had to do with free will. Let me explain. Persephone. So she's 6 months in hell, 6 months in heaven, this kind of thing, because she wanted to eat the fruit, or she was so beautiful, or it's got a little story. Maybe you know it. If you don't, go look it up. It's great. My point of bringing her up is her beauty and this fruit, which of course they're being seen as the same thing, right? When you get old, you're not ripe anymore. Da, 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 she tastes sweet. All of that. But it's decisions, and it's the quantum decoherence of that, the loss of that, or, if you don't know the story. So she had to come up with something to get out of hell for those 6 months. I swear I feel like Persephone sometimes, because I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. This is public. But sometimes I do feel like maybe 6 months I'm in hell, 6 months I'm in heaven, and a back and forth. And I am a type of ripe fruit, and I am afraid of being anything else but that. But when I think of it that way, I've lost a certain amount of information that even a fruit that's no longer ripe, that means you picked it off of the vine or whatever, think of apples, cherries, all of these things. I have a point, I promise. When they fall to the ground and melt away and there's nothing left of them, there's a seed, right? And then this seed that's on the ground, it might rain, the mud gets soft, and it sinks down. You know where I'm going with this. Now, as the seed sinks down into the mud, into the dirt, the sun comes out and it dries. So now that ground is dry and solid, and the seed has been laid and set. And now it is preparing to grow again. And this is the cycle. So when I think of myself in this way, I try to see myself as a cycle, the more and more, or especially when I get sad, or maybe I have little feelings of, depression, oh, why me? Or, you can get into that area. I want to think of this area as where I'm planted. simply planted. And I don't have a lot of those areas because, like I said, I isolate. And really, the only time I mean, this is only my own experience. When you're being watched is when you feel like you need to portray certain emotions and attitudes. So if there's no one here to see me being sad, I'm not sad. And even if I had someone to see me being sad, I wouldn't be sad just because my own perfectionisms and, oh, this is weakness and oh, this and oh, that, they're flaws. I'm not a perfect human being. And I allow myself to be that. And I think if the worst thing about me is that I'd like to be the best me that I can be, knowing that I'll never reach that, maybe I'll get close. I think that's a good place to be. And if you're listening to this and you're not sure if you're doing enough or if you're doing too much, I want you to sit with yourself and realize that you're where you're supposed to be. You're planted. Now, it may be uncomfortable. And when I feel this way, sometimes I get uncomfortable with it too. I want to be a big tree and I want to be on my yacht already. And I like yachts because I like the ocean and I can't drive a boat and I get seasick. So if I'm on a smaller boat, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the water. And even on a yacht, I could still get seasick. So when I say things like this, it's because of those ideas. So for you, you wouldn't have this information, so I have to share that. This is the decoherence. There's always a loss of information everywhere in all of these systems because this is how it works. If it's a bubble bath, you can look that way. All hot bubble baths will get cold. They just will. It's not evil. It's not mean. It's not doing it to you to hurt you. It's not just your bubble baths that lose heat. It's all of us. We are all this thing losing heat. That could also be like death, which I saw this one thing where it was like, there's one person per coffin and you're born alone and you die alone and you don't need anybody. And, and then this other thing tried to say, well, that was trauma because you never had anyone but I have another point of view on it. What if you just actually don't need anyone? Like, what if you really are enough? Terrifying, right? What if you're all you need? Then it's like, what about all these things I've been taught that I think and I know to be true, and I need this and I need that, and I have to be this and I have to be that, and if I'm not this, then I'm not that. Again, loss of information, right? So with that, I wanted to let you know that maybe it feels like the world is a skipped record, But just like we know, put a little toothpaste on it, play it, and it's like the skip was never there. Or that skipping part of the CD becomes your favorite part. If you're a little bit younger than me, you probably don't know what a CD is. But I know what a CD is now and all of the stuff around it. And I'm trying to learn actually about albums and something called an A-track. And it looks like a video game box, which I'm sorry if I am terrifying you right now, like if you're older and you know all this stuff. But, you give people a chance to kind of learn the technology of the past. And it's still a beautiful thing. Cassette tapes? I'm sorry. I'm going to lose all of my older listeners. I'm so sorry. But I just want to know about things. Look at this. When I am obsessed with Julius Caesar, he died on my birthday and not my birthday, but in like 400 BC or something. Don't quote me. I don't know what day. It was just the time that he went through that with Brutus and the end of his story. And I love his story because every time something goes with me, I feel like I'm crossing the Rubicon. The Rubicon was such a small river that it wasn't even on maps. But if you lived in this area during the time, which is like ancient Rome, you knew the Rubicon. And this was the beginning of the Roman Empire's boundaries. So if you crossed this line, then you knew, if you crossed that line with an army, you were saying, I'm going to war with Rome. Caesar did this. Now, Julius Caesar at the time was not the emperor of all. He was a really good general. He had an army. He was winning. He was doing that. But the Senate were the people who were in power. And I'm pretty sure they probably didn't want him to come in power, but he was doing what he was supposed to do. He's winning wars. He's making Rome great. That was his job. So, of course, from that, the people love him because people love a good win. This could be, and this is the thing of where, we get international and, America or Europe or what's going on with Palestine or Israel or, in the Ukraine or, you want to think about in the Philippines or there are still kids living in the graveyards in Philippines because they're overpopulated for apartments or they're just poor. So they have to eat reboiled chicken from the garbage and sell it to people. When you tell these stories of the earth, it might make us feel and look a certain way, but there's a loss of information. These are still progressive ways forward. We are still a young civilization. We have not been on Earth that long. And for someone not on Earth, when I look at Earth, or think of it this way, the astronauts who are looking down on us, or their life is space, they're not in the same world that we are, and you're not in the same world that they're in. And I'm not in the same world that anybody's in. There's all kinds of decoherence that's constantly happening, and we have to do the best that we can with the time that we have. Now, if any of this is confusing, I would say go over a couple more of my episodes. Listen to those ads because I had to, I got to make money too. And support creators who are promoting intelligent content. I'm not on here telling you how to get a guy or that men suck or we're not going to talk about sex. There's no race content. There's no political things. I have ideas on all of these concepts, but they're not interesting to me. They're not gratifying. They don't move me. Now, if something can move me and gratify me, that's what I want to know about. And that's when information like this comes up, because I want to know what we're going to be like in 1,000 years. I want to know what part I can take in the intelligence of the nation. I want to be a part of that. So, everyone's got their own dream and you've got to chase whatever you think is best for you, of course. So for me, if I could say one person would be like, I was really sad and lost and I wasn't sure what I was interested in or if I should be interested or anything. And I just started listening to your podcast, asking myself questions, researching things. I found this one book. Maybe you heard of it. Maybe you haven't. Tell me about a book. I've learned so much to understand how much I don't know. There is so much information in this world in such a beautiful way. Good information, not the misinformation. That's at the surface level. You just have to hold your breath a little longer and go down a little deeper. And it's there, raw and untouched. That's the beauty of this information. Look up, I have some people I think you might like. A C.M. Kuzman. Look it on YouTube. This is all free information you can find. And intelligent speculation. Look up critical thinking. Look into these things. I found something that was fascinating. Maybe we'll talk about it in a few episodes from now. The speculation of zoology. What creatures would look like. Like, since we only tell you what creatures look like through their fossils, that's very limited. And if somebody looked at you through your fossil, you wouldn't look the same either, because muscle and fat and blood vessels don't fossilize. Hair, it's keratin. It doesn't fossilize. So a lot of the beautiful things that we're missing just about your average freaking raptor could be mind-blowing. Feathers on dinosaurs. Who knew? There's so much in the world that is misunderstood. And I want to spend my time focusing on that. There are plenty of people focusing on everything else. You're getting drowned in it. And if that's the kind of content you like, there's plenty of that out there. So for me, this content is for the people or my tribe who like this. And you want to hear about the simulacrum and hermetic circles, and you like words like quantum, and you want to understand quantum, and why does every Marvel movie just say quantum? The quantum field wasn't even created until like the 1600s. They didn't even know about it, 1800s or so. So what did we used to call it? And just, there's more and more and more. If anything, I'm thinking too, maybe I'm actually going to put up a few videos about this, do some graphics, get into all of that. But I'm scared, I'm scared to be a YouTuber. I'm afraid. Why am I afraid? I want to be liked. I want to be loved. I want to be cherished. And then I'm scared if I get there, what if people don't like my ideas? What if they don't like my voice? I could be doing all of that to myself. And that's why I'm like, all of this, it's a process. I initiated the podcast about 1.5 years ago, and I decided I have a lot of ideas that I like. Maybe I should make this a company, a business. Stop judging myself, stop overthinking, and really just focus on the good I'm doing and how many people I've helped and things like that, and focus on this is the dialogue of my character. This is who I am. So thank you for letting me share who I am and act in alignment with my vision. This is my world building that I want to do, and I thank you for being here and listening and allow me to do that. This is an amazing, beautiful gift, and I can't wait to share more things with you. This has been Anomalycyra, your hostess with the mostest, going back at it with another mind theory for your mind. Thanks for listening. Bye.